This is our sacrum diagnosis video, so we're going to start off with our lateralization test, the seated flexion test. So we need to find the PSIS. You're going to drop down inferiorly off of those PSISs and then hook back on top of them. You want to get your eyes at the level of the PSIS and then ask your patient to bend forward. The side that moves first and furthest, which on this side is the left, is our positive side. And I prefer to do that on the skin. The next test we're going to do is another lateralization test, which is the ASIS compression test. So you have the patient lie supine. I'm going to contact the ASIS, and I'm going to compress from anterior to posterior directly over that medial or middle transverse axis. So what I'm looking for is for the ilium. If this is my ilium and this is my sacrum, the ilium should, in a negative test, give a little bit of motion before it catches the sacrum and rolls the whole pelvis. That's a negative test. The positive test is there's no give. Immediately when I push on the ASIS, that whole pelvis rolls. Again, that's a lateralization test, so we're positive on the left. Now let me have you roll over, and we're going to look at our forward and backward test. So again, I find where the PSISs are, and I roll onto the sacral base. The heel of my hand goes right on that sacral base, and I'm going to press anterior and a little bit inferior. But before I do that, I'm going to have her come up on her elbows. So this is my spring test. And when I push on that sacral base, it will move forward. That's a negative spring test, meaning that's a forward-going thing. A positive spring test means there's no motion, there's no spring. That would give me a backward-going thing. So now you can relax. And I'll check my static landmarks. So I roll in and find my sacral base or sacral sulcus. And remembering the left side was the positive side, I notice that it's deeper on that left side. Now I'm going to find my ILAs, replace with my thumbs. And here it looks like the ILA is more anterior on the left side. It's more posterior on the right side. So I can also check another forward bending test. So this would be my Sphinx test. So I'm going to check my landmarks here and then have her come up on her elbows again and see, do those landmarks get more or less symmetric? So there's a little bit more motion. It's a little bit freer. So she prefers lumbar extension, which means sacral flexion. That's a forward-going thing. And there you go. And then the last thing, I always want to motion test all of my possible diagnoses to make sure that I have the right diagnosis. So I already think that this is most likely a right-on-right sacral torsion, but let me check and see if she prefers to go into unilateral flexion on that side. I'm pushing down on the sacral base. I'm looking for this ILA to come posterior, and it does not happen. Then if I shift over to the right ILA and I push that sacral base anterior and a little bit medial, not only do I get nice motion, the sacrum feels softer and more fluid, but this right ILA comes posterior to me, and that confirms my diagnosis of a right-on-right sacral torsion. I can also check the backward-going things. I try to push on the right ILA to try to put her into a left on right, and it will not go. And I can push on this left ILA and try to put her into a left unilateral extension, also won't go. So my diagnosis is confirmed. So all of those steps, the lateralization test, a forward or backward test, static landmarks, and motion testing are what you need to diagnose the sacrum.